The Chicago Bears just traded for Jonah Jackson, offensive lineman from the Los Angeles Rams this season. And this season was a down year for him. Started only 4 games, played center and guard this year for the Rams. Dealt with an injury, a shoulder injury, came into training camp with. And he got a fucking bag from the Rams. 3-year, $51 million, and things didn't work out. They allowed him to seek a trade a couple weeks ago, and the Chicago Bears didn't waste no time with it. They essentially traded the pick they got from Pittsburgh to send Justin Fields over there to the Rams to get Jonah Jackson. So basically Justin Fields for Jonah Jackson. But I really like this move for the Chicago Bears. It's 11.8 cap hit this season and next season. And if you cut him, move on from him, you save $17 million. So it's really not that much for a guy that's going to start for you at left guard. He's been a left guard majority of the seasons he's been with Ben Johnson. Started 40 games in Detroit. And in 2021, he was a Pro Bowler with Ben Johnson. So obviously this move tells me that, Ben Johnson was like, give me that guy. I can work with him. That's somebody I want on this offensive line. And Ryan Poles, all right, got you. I'm gonna make it happen. And 6th round pick, like I said, with the whole Justin Fields deal, not much to get a guy that's going to start for you. And this shows me Tevin Jenkins, he's not being brought back. He's not going to be with the Chicago Bears next season. So if you look at, Jonah Jackson, other than the season with the Rams, I mean, sometimes things don't work out. But when you get with the guy you're familiar with, Ben Johnson, he had success with Jonah Jackson. You get back with somebody you had success with before, it works again. And there's not a lot of guys available that are true left guards. Trey Smith, losing him was a big blow. Mekhi Becton, he had a really good year with the Eagles, but is it just because that was a perfect situation for him? Will Fries is coming off a broken tibia, so a lot of uncertainty with that. There really isn't uncertainty for Ben Johnson bringing a guy like this in because there's a track record that he's worked. He started 57 games in 4 seasons for the Detroit Lions in total. In 2021, he was a Pro Bowler. In 2022, 494 pass block snaps, and he gave up 0 sacks. In 2023, 2 sacks on 432 pass block snaps. In 2024 with the Rams, only gave up 1 sack on 181 snaps. So you're getting a solid guard. You're getting, this is one of the options I thought was a possibility for the Chicago Bears. As soon as I saw he was allowed to seek a trade from the Rams, I thought the Bears would be all over this, and it made a lot of sense because of the familiarity. And it makes sense bringing in an offensive lineman that has knowledge of the offense Ben Johnson is going to want to run, the scheme, some play designs, blocking schemes, all of that. It makes sense to have somebody that's already been in that and has a lot of familiarity with that. So it stops you from having the problem to fill 3 positions in free agency. I mean, that's what the Bears were going to have to do. 3 guys they were going to have to add in free agency in the interior. Now you just have to add a center. This is a good plan. Really like this move for the Chicago Bears. I think it's going to pan out. It's a low risk, high reward type of signing. He's 28 years old, and if he works out in 2026, the 11.8 cap hit, it's a good number to have a really solid left guard, really solid starter at that position. If it doesn't, you save $17.8 million cutting his ass on the books. So really like this move for Ryan Poles. Really sets him up for free agency to, get a guy like Dahlman, gives him more flexibility, gives him more options. We could bring back Khalil Mack. There's a lot of smoke on that potentially happening. Rumors are saying he would be interested in coming back to Chicago, so we could go that direction. Zeitler, Dahlman, Khalil Mack, maybe some guys that Dennis Allen has connection with, the Chase Young, Sheldon Rankins, backup defensive tackle. I'm excited. This is the first domino for free agency. We'll see what else happens, and we'll see what else is in the books, in store. A guy that could be somebody they could be interested in is Jonathan Allen, defensive end from the Washington Commanders. They allowed him to seek a trade. He was potentially going to be in the deal to get Deebo Samuel to Washington. They were going to potentially send him over to the 49ers to help with their defensive line and their interior. But with his cap hit, 15 mil cap hit, they said no. So I think that's a big reason why the Chicago Bears probably would say no to Jonathan Allen too. But he's another guy that has familiarity. If they cut him, I would be okay with the Bears potentially signing him. If he's cut and they can't find a trade partner, because I think that works a little better. Signing him to a cheap deal, prove it 1-year deal, because this is a guy that had success with Montez Sweat. Some of his best seasons in Washington were with Montez Sweat and Chase Young. In 2021, 62 tackles, 10 TFLs, 9 sacks, and in 2022, 65 tackles, 16 TFLs, 7.5 sacks in 2022. Played 16 games the last 3 seasons. Last season was kind of an outlier for him. He had his shoulder injury. But when he came back in the playoffs, he played really well in the postseason for the Commanders. Not the best run defender, more of a pass rush specialist. And I could see him coming to the Bears as somebody that's, on third down situations. You have Dexter, you have Billings, more for run stopping, and you put him in on obvious pass rush situations, and he could be dominant. And maybe in Dennis Allen's scheme, he could be somebody that plays a lot better against the run, having those other guys with him, Sweat, maybe a potentially Khalil Mack off the other on the opposite edge. I think defensive tackle depth is something we need to take a look at this free agency and in this draft. Jonathan Allen would be a signing I wouldn't be mad at, but I wouldn't want them to trade for him. So Jonathan Allen, if he gets cut from the Washington Commanders, they can't find a trade partner, I'd be all for signing him to a cheap 1-year prove-it deal. But I would want him to get an extension done with, Keenan Allen. I would want him to stay with the Chicago Bears for maybe 2 or 3 more years because he's coming off his best season last year with the Chargers.